Well, they have an easy schedule so far this year. Some of the other franchises, I don't particularly agree with anything they're saying right now. There's a quarter of the season. Who knows who's going to be good and who's going to be bad at the end of the year? And if they have an easier schedule, good for them. I'm glad they're winning them, right?
Hey, listen, the more that you win now, the less that you have to worry about later on. So, yeah, I think that you can only beat who you're playing against. And the fact that we're winning most of these games, I think it's just everybody else crying.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And it's not because of just hitting this year. You guys got a good pitching staff also.
Well, right now we got the best in the league. I mean, that's what's going on. I mean, I think that we've had what's it, 14 games where the pitcher has gone at least 7 innings, and that's like 4 or 5 games above everybody else, every other team. So, I mean, that's really what's doing it. The fact that everybody laughed when we said that we had one of the best bullpens in the league, and after that first series where we kind of gave it up a little bit, the bullpen's been outstanding.
Yeah,
So the fact that they haven't been taxed because the pitchers are going longer into the games makes it working for us much better.
I agree. I agree. Go
Has
ahead,
any
Jack.
talk of Bryce Harper's contract extension?
Yeah, they said he got a no trade clause and no contract change fluctuation. So yeah, there's no extension.
There you go. So, Pags, of course,
Hey,
with the
hey, hey,
NFL.
hold on. You know what? I gotta ask. Because I just heard this last night, and I didn't see the fight. I didn't hear whatever. Fury lost.
Yeah, it was a great fight, a great fight. I mean, you hear the term in other sports, oh, it's a heavyweight fight, and normally I laugh at that because heavyweight fights aren't that great, when other sports use the term. But yesterday, I mean, it did justice to it. It had so many ebbs and flows, and it was a really close decision, split decision. Usyk deservedly got the decision. The majority of people felt Usyk eked it out, the vast majority. Some might feel Fury won, but more feel Usyk won. I had Usyk up 1 point, but what a great fight. And at the halfway point, Fury was in total command. Total command. It looked like there was no way back for Usyk. And it was like an NBA game in the sense that the momentum is changing back and forth. Momentum doesn't change back and forth that much in boxing compared to an NBA game, but it's like Usyk went on like a 20-point run or something like that to give it an idea when he was all of a sudden down 15 points and it looked like it was all lost. And I mean, what a fight.
I had heard that in the ninth, it probably should have been stopped. That Fury probably could have gotten, had a TKO against him.
It could have easily been stopped, but the ref made the right call because Fury was about to go down. He was getting pounded, and the ropes were holding him up. And there's a rule: if the ropes prevent a knockdown, the ref could stop it and call it a knockdown as if Fury went down. So, but the idea that, and then the bell rang to end the ninth round, and the idea that Fury then went to distance and was competitive in the last 3 rounds vindicates the ref's decision. It could have been stopped. It was target practice. Usyk was pounding Fury all over the ring, pounding that big target. But some people are happy about last night because it showed a good little guy as a heavyweight could beat a good big guy. So, historically in boxing history, we hear the modern era guys, the new generation, like the J Train generation, I'm going to call it, say, well, the athletes are too big. I mean, how if they past guys that competed, they were smaller, they weighed less. Well, guess what? The little guy beat the big guy yesterday.
There you go. There you go. So,
James,
Pags.
I got to take a shot at you too. Matt
That's
can't be the only one. Yeah.
Yes,
Do, do,
yes.
do you think they rematch?
Yeah,
Oh
there's
yeah, it's going to be in October. Fury has a good chance of turning the tables. A good chance. I mean, it was a close fight. The question is, can Usyk attain these heights again? When you put everything you have into a fight like this and you finally reach your goal, can you recharge your battery? When this fight was postponed originally because Fury had a cut, Usyk never stopped training. Usyk was in training camp when his wife gave birth. He never took his eye off the prize ahead of him. I mean, he was so focused every moment. And Fury became very focused, let's say, 3 months before the fight. He trained really hard at that point, and he was in really good shape, Fury. But Usyk, something about his tunnel vision in this fight was just a little better than Fury's.
I didn't ask you this, Jack. Did Fury ever hurt Usyk during the fight?
Yeah, he actually did. He hurt him to the body, I thought, a couple of times, which surprised me. I didn't think that would be a factor. Usyk had a little bit of a history of maybe being uncomfortable when he was banged to the body. And Fury took advantage of that. He was landing some thudding body shots. At one point, you saw Usyk really back off. And he looked like he was hurt to me. And Fury was throwing very dangerous right uppercuts. But what you got to understand about Usyk, former gold medalist, he fought so many amateur fights, like about 300 amateur fights. And being in the ring to him is something he's comfortable with. He's so comfortable being in that ring. And Fury had more levels of inactivity. Usyk wanted to win this fight for more than just it wasn't just a job to him, and it wasn't financial. It was the glory of winning the title and being the undisputed champion. The Fury was a combination. It was a fight he had to fight. There was no one else. The money he couldn't turn down. And then Fury had to force himself to get focused. Usyk didn't. And that's a reflection. But Fury really did hurt him to the body. It was a great fight. And listen, if you watch the fight, you might even think Fury edged it out. And that would be okay if you had Fury a point ahead at the end. But most people, gave Usyk that little edge. And kudos to the judges. They all did a good job. Even the one that had Fury a point ahead, another had Usyk a point ahead, and another had Usyk 3 points ahead. All were viable scorecards.
Okay, all right. And how you doing, Joe? Glad to have you with us. He says, "Fly, Eagles, fly." Let's talk a little Eagles. I was looking at the Philly Voice this morning. They're predicting them to go 11-6. And if it comes down to Dallas or the Eagles in a championship game, of course, the Philly Voice says the Eagles would go to the Super Bowl, not the Cowboys. We've seen them fall apart at the end of the year, Pags. I know we've talked about this ad nausea. What do they got to do this year? What is it? What is it more important that the coaches not inspire, but change what they did last year to have the players respond better at the end? Because what I saw last year was the players weren't responding to the coaching. The coaching wasn't making adjustments. It looked terrible coaching wise at the end of the Eagles.
I think that there was a lot of miscommunication on the higher ends of the coaches. That it was, two very green coordinators, and ultimately because of that, it started to deteriorate for whatever other reasons that there was going on. I think that it started spiraling out of control. I think that the greenness of the coordinators wasn't able to help, and ultimately it just fell apart. I think with Vic Fangio, you have a guy who's been in the NFL for so long. He's been a head coach. He knows exactly kind of what he wants from his team, and I think that he's going to demand it from his players. And I think that with Kellen Moore, you have a quiet confidence that is setting the table. All right, this is what we want, this is what we need to do, and we're just going to do it. And obviously the game's got to play. You got to play the games out. I think there's going to be that collapse that happened last year doesn't happen this year. I don't think that we go 14-3, but I got us going 12-5.
Can I ask this, guys? Is it possible? I'm not saying this is the case. Vic Fangio is slightly overrated. Like he's coming to Philadelphia, oh, he's the savior. He's going to get the defense back in order. He's going to be in charge. At Denver, when he was head coach, their defense was so-so. Then he went to the Miami Dolphins. Their defense wasn't exactly lights out there. Is he a little overrated in that sense? So it's too much being expected because Vic Fangio's, taking over.
Well, before Vic Fangio got to Miami, they were like 25th. He had him up at like 14th, and they didn't really add any players. So ultimately, they've had a lot of people who were using the Vic Fangio system, but not necessarily, they weren't Vic, so, and they had their own spin to things. Now you got the guy who actually created the system. So, and that's it. It's like when you get the copy of the copy of the copy, you're getting something that's looks the same but is not anywhere near the same. Now we got the original.
Yeah, I think that Vic Fangio is just what the Eagles need. A little old school, and kind of pushed into the Eagles because of what happened last year. That they kind of they maybe ran out of steam, or they weren't practicing like they should have been practicing. Whatever happened there last year, I think Vic Fangio is that old school coach that at this time the Eagles need, instead of the player coach that Sirianni is. Maybe there's an offset there, and you find a good mixture, Pags, where you can go to Sirianni in certain cases, but Fangio's there to enforce what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Is that they've had players coaches this entire time. He's not a player's coach. He's more of a coach's coach. So I think that's going to no nonsense. Listen, this is what I want you to do. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to put somebody in here who is going to do what I want them to do.
So we got the AFC North next year, the whole NFC East. All four teams are really good, Pags. I mean, they could go either way. I think any game that the top of our league plays against the top of their division. I mean, I don't have to tell you the teams over there. All four teams are good. Burrows is back. That will make Cincinnati a viable team again next year, and that's going to be a tough goal for the whole NFC East. Plus, you got the second place schedule. So 12-5 is going to be a lot to achieve.
Looking at the games individually and just figuring how I think that they're going to go. Obviously, injuries are going to play a factor. If somebody gets hurt, the right person gets hurt, that number could change dramatically. But the way the schedule's set up and it's put out, I got them going 12-5, possibly 13-4. I guess it's going to matter at the end whether they have the possibility of getting the number one seed. I think that's going to play a difference. There is the middle of the season is a gauntlet because they have 7 away games in like 11 or 12 weeks because the bye's in there. But it's like a lot of away games and 2 home games to start. Of course, 1 is in Brazil, and then 4 of their last 5 games is at home. So that's a big deal. I think as you're going into the playoffs, being able to hold serve at your home and be able to get the division and possibly the number one seed.
I agree with that. Let's turn back to baseball real quick. Atlanta minor leaguer David Fletcher, who was on the Angels, signed a $26 million contract, has placed bets on baseball with the same bookmaker Muzahara used when he got caught. Now, I don't know if they're going to prosecute this guy or whatever. I know there's another person involved in it, his friend that he might have turned on to maybe save himself. Like I said, I didn't read the whole article. I read the headline a little bit below that. Betting's a problem, man. Betting's a problem in all sports right now. And, James, I don't know what they want the players to do. You can't open it up and say, go ahead and bet on anything you want. Maybe they let you bet on other teams instead of your team. Maybe that will suffice people getting in so much trouble. I'm not sure. Maybe they should change the rule. What do you think?
Well, it sounds good. I mean, and it sounds fair to change the rules, but the door opens. I mean, you leave that one crack open for anything to happen, and it's too many variables to say that you can. If I'm going to vote, like, let's go back to Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors voting $10,000 on who's going to win Rookie of the Year. Yes, but who's to say that it seems harmless to do that off the field, but who's to say that one person won't cut or shave points, doesn't do anything to try to let the other guy win it? Or, I mean, it's stupid. I mean, that no one would do that, but the idea is there. So it's just too many things. You open Pandora's box when you say that players can actually bet on sports.
Yeah, James is correct. Like, I'll give you a harmless example. It could be a last game of the season for the Giants, and Malik Neighbors could be neck and neck with Jaden Daniels. And the quarterback for the Giants, let's say the game's a little out of hand, but he's still in the game, a backup, could be aware that Malik Neighbors is neck and neck, and he might throw a pass to him he normally wouldn't do. It might seem insignificant, but it does affect the game. Remember, like when Pete Rose bet on his own team, it could affect how he used players. And something about James is right. You leave the crack open just a little bit. But the question is, if it's a young player, James, who made a mistake and made some type of bet, and he didn't throw a game, do you really kick him out for life? I mean, there has to be common sense what a penalty is going to be, because we see all these commercials about betting that the league endorses, and then they say, oh, bet responsibly. Like, that helps to tell to bet responsibly. Thank you. That's going to help Pags. If Pags is told to bet responsibly, he's going to say, oh, thank you for the advice. I'm going to listen.
Right. It's like drinking responsibly,
responsibly. Meanwhile, the bartenders, keeping the drinks flowing. Come on.
Oh, let's not get on the bartenders, please, Jack. We don't want to.
No. Bartenders are great. I'm just saying, it's a person drinking that's responsible, not the bartender.
Exactly. I mean, Pags does part-time bartending. I mean, you're throwing shade.
No. Bartenders are great. They're just doing their job, but.
Right. Right.
But
I'm glad you brought up drinking. All right. So Pags, they tell you don't drink and drive, but yet there's bars all over the place. You got package stores all over the place. They're not delivered at home. And they're telling players not to gamble, but here's all these places that are offering gambling associated with the league, and they're telling players not to gamble. To me, it's a league problem. It's not a player problem. If you don't want the players to gamble, stop with the sites. If you don't really, and stop punishing them. The NFL should take responsibility for this. Maybe the NFL, whoever is running these campaigns, should maybe pay a fine or get suspended. What do you think?
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is going to go round and round here all the time. Unfortunately, when you are getting so much money from gambling, because that's really what it is, they're paying the money to the leagues. You have 3 different lounges at the stadiums. One's the FanDuel Lounge, one's the DraftKings Lounge, and everything's sponsored by MGM. You know what I mean? So it's like you throw it in your face, throw it in these guys' faces all the time. They're human beings. You know what I mean? They get the thrills like everybody else. To think that Ohtani never bet on anything and that it was all Matsuami or whatever his name is ridiculous. To think that these players are not gambling, is ridiculous, because they behind closed doors, they're just like everybody else. They're doing, they're making in-house bets. They're doing their thing, saying, hey, I'm doing this. I'd be willing to bet that half of these players have fantasy football teams. You know what I mean? That they're playing like that too. So, and fantasy football is even worse, because say you're going up against, say you're a defense guy, and you got the receiver that you're going up against as a player, you may decide to let him score a touchdown because you're up by 21 points.
That's a great point. Great point. Well, if it was up to Jack, if he found one March Madness bracket on Aaron Rodgers' table, he would be suspended for life. So that's the way Jack
No,
is about it.
no. But Mac, but you said it best now, Mac. In a way, what should the penalties be? You take an NFL. I'm going to give you an example. Take an NFL player, and he's out with his friends in Las Vegas during Super Bowl week, and he's at the sports book. They're hanging out the way young people are, and he wants to bet 50 grand on the game for interest. Okay, whatever. Are you going to really suspend him for life? It has nothing to do with this game. But then again, like James said, you can't open the door. There's got to be penalties to discourage him. But you don't want to destroy the guys. Like now, if you bet against your own team and you throw a game,
of
that's
course.
an entirely different matter.
Anything to do with your game, you should be gone. But to me, what is the hassle or what is the problem? Me being say I'm playing for the Giants right now. Eagles are playing Dallas. I bet on the Eagles to win by the point spread. It doesn't affect me or the Giants. It doesn't. It doesn't affect the game. So if you're gonna and you're saying, well, it's already open. It's
you have
open.
a friend on the other team or something, and the game is out of hand, and he wants to do his best buddy a favor, like drop a ball thrown his way that would have covered the point spread. Even you, Mac, you force us to make our weekly NFL picks on the point spread. I hate it. I don't mind odds. I don't mind.
And it's even a bad point spread because he has us make it on a point spread that was a week ago.
Right.
So that's even worse.
Right.
You complain the way Mac has manipulated the point spread on the Sunday football shows.
Oh,
he's made you change this and that.
Oh, Jesus. James, I mean, you'll probably be involved this year. Don't even listen to these guys. It's all fair above board. They're told a week ahead of what the spreads are, and for some reason they still have a problem with it. So, but anyway,
because some of the spreads go from -4 to one way to a +2. We got to bet on the -4 because three things happen during the week. But he's going to go on the original thing rather than it's ridiculous how it's.
You don't have to. You're not forced to bet on those games.
Who was right most of the time? Who won? Who won Who won most of the games?
Who won most of the games? No, you didn't. You didn't participate in every week, Pat.
I missed 1 week, and I still had more wins than everybody else.
You missed 3 weeks, Pags. I can't help it.
I still had more wins than everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know who's keeping track of your point total over there, but you might want to get rid of them. So anyway, let's get back to Major League Baseball. Let's do some college football. Jack, just for you, I won't mention the NIL this week, okay? I'm just going to – yeah, I know it drives you crazy.
Yeah. I don't want the NIL mentioned, Mac, but I mind it when it's not newsworthy, when there's major news out there and you lead with it, the NIL.
Right,
I mean, I know you love the NIL and the transfer portal and the whole bit. I mean,
it's my favorite thing to talk about. Anyway, Matt Rule calls potential eliminating walk-ons a awful thing, as we know. Even in pros, they used to. I think they still do some teams. You can go out and try out for a team. In college, right, we have a lot of players that did walk out and have become, believe it or not, stars in the NFL. So that it's not happening right now, but there is that potential because of what is going on in college football today, that they may not even worry about as much recruiting and stuff like that. James, I don't know when it's a wall. I know it's got to hit a wall eventually. I mean, it's unfair to a lot of teams. And now you're saying that a guy that goes to college, whether he gets a scholarship or pays his way, could potentially not go out for a college football team. That's ridiculous.
Well, why wouldn't you want to?
I'm still. I'm sorry. I'm a bit confused about what's going on with Matt Rule and the.
Mac is Matt James. Matt Rule was supposed to be the Giant head coach. Ownership wanted him. He went to the Panthers instead. Didn't work out. Now he went to Nebraska, and he's not quite getting it done there.
No, that has nothing to do with what I just talked about. Maybe Pags understands what I'm saying. Pags, there are guys, kickers, running backs, whatever, that come out and play on tryouts, right? I'm trying to remember the the famous guy down in Texas that did this, a quarterback that came out and ended up coming as a tryout, became a great quarterback. The point I'm making is, if you pay your dues to go to college, this sport is offered. Who is to say whether this guy can try out for a team or not?
I mean, anybody could try out for the team. What he's saying, what I believe he's saying, is that it's killing that the transfer portal is stopping from people from walk-ons, guys who are getting introduced to the sport later in their school career. Somebody who may have been a senior at high school didn't get enough looks to be able to get the scholarship, but likes the sport, tries to go on as a walk-on to any one of these major teams, and they're not getting the opportunity because the NIL and the transfer portal is that teams are getting, players are getting traded from team to team right now through that transfer portal, and that's stopping any walk-ons from happening.
There you go. See, Jack, I didn't say it.
Okay, so now I understand what it is. Now I don't know. Cream still rises to the top. It's not going to stop somebody who's really determined. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to allow walk-ins to come in and try out. You're going to see somebody stand out. If they're a diamond's going to shine. It's not going to be some rough kid or whatever, Cole that's just sitting there. Because I mean, you have a lot of tryouts and guys just don't make it. But you have one guy that'll shine.
James, I love your analogy.
James, there's so few that become impact players. When we make a big deal out of it, the way Mac will do well. Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. That's where you get your franchise quarterback. You can wait until the 6th round. I mean, it's so infrequent. All sports, you catch lightning in the bottle once in a while. An undrafted player.
I did almost a whole show on this. The walk-ins that became MVPs, Super Bowl champions, Hall of Famers.
It goes back to Johnny Unitas.
No, I'm not talking about Johnny Unitas. I'm not talking about him at all. I'm talking about the linebacker from the Pittsburgh Steelers who had an interception that won the Super Bowl that one day. I'm talking about a former St. Louis Ram quarterback that was a walk-on. I'm talking about Victor Cruz, who ended up going to the Super Bowl. There were many walk-ons.
I believe.
No, he was a walk-on.
John Randall.
Yes.
John Randall.
There you go, John Randall.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Many
Once
more.
Once in a while, you get someone. Once in a while.
Jack,
you get the guys in a decade. That's nice.
3% of college players make the pros. So we know it's once in a while. It's a once in a while for everybody. We're just making the point that it does happen, that there are players that are walk-ons that become great players. That's all.
Or they contribute to a team is a better way of putting it. They make the roster and they could contribute to a good team. I mean, I could buy that, but I don't want to hear that coming out being stars.
We don't hear what you want to hear, Jack. We're giving you facts. Facts. That's what we're talking about right now. Pags, NFL shoots at the heart of college football. Play December 21st. A big, huge weekend for college football. Professional football says, well, you got 3 great games. Well, guess what? We're going to put a couple good games on here. The Chiefs versus Houston and Baltimore against Pittsburgh. The NFL pretty much can bully any sport it wants to around when it wants to, Pags.
On December 21st. That's a big college weekend.
So yes, they have 3 huge games that might be affecting the playoff situation.
Well, that's fine. You know what? I don't look at college since college is doing the playoffs. It's no longer as big a deal. I think that those are the games that are going to get the more play, and those are going to be the primetime games, and they're not always going to be on the Saturdays. I mean, there are bowl games starting from around the 20th of December all the way to the 10th of January anymore. So, and you got the, I Love Lucy Bowl and the Chick-fil-A Bowl and the Cereal Bowl. I mean, there's all these different
Well, I'm
games.
watching Pax. James is taking you seriously. He's thinking who might be playing in those games.
He's looking up right now. He's looking up the
James
cereal
is
bowl right
thinking
now.
now. You got him thinking.
Yeah, we're just
I'm looking at that comment about Rudy is what I'm looking at.
yes, yes. Melissa, I know, follows Pags a lot. Melissa Beebe, she's a Philadelphia fan. I'm not sure what she means.
She's
there.
actually a Bears fan of all things.
Is she
Really?
I know she
Yeah.
follows you. I know that. I mean, maybe she just likes the way you do sports. I don't know. I'm not sure what that means, Melissa. About keep letting kids have instant gratification. We know that there never will be another Rudy story. That Rudy story was halfway made up. To let you know, that wasn't a true.
Mostly sensational. That's why I was laughing.
Yes. So anyway, my point is the NFL just by an event can knock a playoff. It could take the headlines away from an NBA game. I mean, the NFL is just a powerful entity. That's what I was trying to get to there. Anyway, any big matchups? I know you all looked at the schedule this year. Any big matchups that you're looking forward to? Let's start with Pags with the Eagles. What do you think? What's the biggest matchup besides the Cowboys that you'll be looking forward to?
Playing in Brazil. I mean, I think starting the season against Green Bay is actually one of the bigger matchups this season. I think that's a really good game. Other than that, I feel like our schedule is a little on the soft side. You know what I mean? I think that when I look at it and I think of the different games that we have, again, the 7 away games out of 11 that we play is big deal. That's a big deal. And they're going to have to play like, all right, you're going to Cincinnati, then you go to Dallas, and it's like, there's just a lot of away games. Bang, 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 bang. You're going to have to either win the leader game or there's no time to rest, so to speak. So, and I think that's the bigger deal. I'm looking forward to, obviously, the Packers game in Brazil. And I think, I'm interested in seeing Cincinnati. I'm going to be out there for the Eagles versus Cincinnati. And that's a quiet game, kind of. It's going to be a 4:00 game. It'll probably be the game of the week. But, I haven't seen Joe Burrow since he opened up his NFL career with the Eagles, got sacked 8 times, and wound up tying us. He had a tie in his very first start in the NFL. And you watch this guy get crushed because they had no offensive line and just get up, brush it off, and lead them to a tie. So I'm interested to see how he looks after this injury.
The matchup I'm looking forward to the Eagles playing is against the Cleveland Browns with that defense against your new offense. If Watson is playing anywhere close to what he played when he was with the Texans, that should be a very interesting game there. So I'm looking forward to that just as watching football. What do you think, James? What's your biggest matchup or your favorite matchup, not including anybody in division, somebody out of the division that you're looking forward to playing this year?
I'll be in New Orleans week 3.
When? Oh,
Week
that's
3.
right. That's right. And I took an L for that one. I think we're gonna lose that game. But
I actually have that as a win for you guys.
Really?
We have a very difficult time playing in that stadium.
Yeah, well, we've been not so loud lately because it just started our play. So we'll see. But I'm looking forward to October 17th when Sean Payton makes his return with the Broncos. That's going to be interesting. I think we talked about this a while back, and I think he'll get a standing ovation in the beginning just because of what he's done for the city. But after that, all bets are off. We need to win. We want to beat him, especially how he left. I'm looking forward to that one. I hope we win that one for sure.
Well, I don't know. The ovation, James, would have to take place before the game when he walks out of the tunnel because it's not like a basketball player reporting into the game and having his name announced on the loudspeaker. No one's going to announce Sean Payton's name on the loudspeaker. I don't think they announce the coaches, do they? I don't recall that. But
They don't typically announce the away team at all.
right, that's what I mean. So I don't know how the acknowledgement is quite going to be for Sean Payton, but you're right. There should be an appreciation, but even that's a wild card. You never know how the fans might react. They might think, well, he abandoned us in a sense.
That's true. It's a possibility, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they make an exception for him. And I mean, again, we were decent before him, but not great. And him and Drew Brees caught lightning in a bottle, and he had great success there and got us the Super Bowl, the only one we have in our history. So,
all right,
yeah.
all right. To me, that's a good choice. Melissa, now I understand what you're saying. Those bowl games at college are all done, and that's what the people want. So they want a championship. But I agree with you. I enjoy the older days too. Good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I once you were done mentioning that, I was like, I got one more game that I'm really excited about. We play the Giants on my birthday in New York. New York. So of course I'll be there at that game on my birthday. And I am so excited. Maybe you guys will even show up because I'm so tired of all the Giants fans thinking that you guys accomplished something for a game last year that didn't matter anything to anybody. You guys won the game before you guys went out onto the golf course. You know,
it mattered.
It didn't matter nothing. It didn't matter nothing. It broke the losing streak that you guys were let. Now you guys are like one out of the last 26.
It made you lose what, 6 out of 7. It mattered a lot. Jack, who's your favorite?
I look which games. I don't like to focus deep into the schedule. I'm going to give you an example. If I'm a fan of another NFL team, not the Jets, and last year if the Jets were on my schedule, I would have looked forward to them playing my team late in the season. But with Rodgers out and the team floundering, it didn't mean anything. The game lacked luster having the Jets come in. But I look forward to the first game, Jets at the 49ers. And why I look forward to it? Because we should have a bit of an answer how serious a Super Bowl contender the Jets are. Niners barely missed winning the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy's going to be a year better. They're still going to have their weapons. They're really going to have a good team, the 49ers. How good next year? I don't want to say whether they'll just be a regular playoff team and make a run towards the Super Bowl, a serious run again. Yeah, it remains to be seen. If the Jets get blown out of that game, if they play the Niners and we lose 34-10, man, that could set the tone for the season. That's bad. If we win the game, we're Super Bowl contenders if we beat the Niners first game of the season. I really believe that.
So I'm putting the over under on plays by your quarterback at 12. He only gets to play 12 plays, which is up from 4. Which is up from 4.
Prone. He had one injury, a horrific injury in his whole career. It doesn't make him injury prone. He's seen the field year after year after year. Let's not get carried away. It was a fluke 4 games into the season. Could it happen again? It's conceivable. It could happen to anyone.
I have a question for guys other than Jack here. Do you feel that the Jets getting all of the primetime games is unwarranted?
Something? I think the Jets are a playoff team this year. I think Aaron Rodgers is still a big story, whether I like it or not. I really don't think he's the best quarterback in the AFC. I mean, he might be in the top 6 or so, but I don't think he's the best quarterback in the AFC. Is it warranted? I don't know. I guess the NFL feels it is, and they know better than me. But I think there's a lot of teams out there that could be playing at prime time. At least half the games that the Jets have taken right now.
I think that Rodgers is still marketable, and that's what makes it makes them, be prime time every night. I mean, every prime time game. I'm not saying I kind of agree with Pags. I think no, that I mean, if Rodgers weren't there, no, of course not. But definitely because who he is, and people looking to see if he'll bounce back from last year. Definitely, it makes him prime time.
I'll tell you what I don't agree with. Jack saying that this first game will decide whether they're Super Bowl contenders or not. Listen, Kansas City lost the first game to Detroit last year. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" They had a rough. I don't care if it's close or not. They still lost.
The defending Super Bowl champ.
But Jack, that doesn't decide. Does that mean Detroit, because they beat Kansas City, was a Super Bowl?
No, if Kansas City had gotten blown out 38-0, it would have been very worrisome. They lost a tight game early in the year. They were still kind of trying to get themselves together, the Chiefs, even though they were Super Bowl champs the year before. Well, my point is this: if the Jets are to lose, and I'm just throwing a different score, 38-7 to the Niners, that's very alarming. It's not a case, let's forget about it. It's just one game, because everyone's psyched for the first game of the season. They're psyched. They're not down for whatever reason. No matter who you're playing, you're up for that game and raring to go because it's your opening.
I want to see the game between you and the Philadelphia. No, you're not playing the East this year. That's right. You're not playing.
I got one more, Mac, to add in. That's the second game I'm looking forward to. That's not my team. That's actually your team, the New York Giants, playing the Eagles at Philadelphia. Will the fans do the same that the Knicks fans did to the 76ers? Will they come over and take over the stadium?
Giants fans are afraid of coming into Philly. They're afraid of coming into Philly. It's different for basketball. It's different for hockey. It's different for baseball. The fans in New York are afraid to come into Philadelphia for football games. End of story. Just like you're afraid to go to Miami at any time because the woman's going to yell at you for getting up and down because you got to get up and down out of the row so much. That's the same thing.
I forgot about that.
You know what happened? James doesn't know the story.
We'll tell him about it later. We're getting to the time. I want to see the Giants Steelers. Those are two old school physical teams. They run the ball first. I want to see who's the quarterback when the Steelers play the Giants. I want to see who the Giants quarterback is when they play the Steelers. There's so many things that could happen before this game happens.
I tell you, that game has the potential to be the ugliest game in NFL history because you got to have the Steelers wearing their black, their black and yellows with the bees, and you got the Giants going to be wearing those goofy throwback uniforms that that I saw on the internet. It's going to be the ugliest game ever.
And believe it or not, that's when the Giants, their team that became the Giants, played in Philadelphia. Very interesting thing there. They were actually a Philadelphia team before they went to New York. But anyway, I can't wait to see us play the AFC North. I think that's the best division in football, in AFC anyway. Playing them or the Browns. I mean, how old school is Browns versus the Giants? I mean, that's what I'm going to be looking at. I look forward to see how they play against each other there. That will be fun for me anyway.
All four of those teams have winning records. Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, a few other things here that I have. Horse racing, Seas of Gray wins to Preakness. So talk about betting in sports, right? Mystic doesn't get the Triple Crown bid because Preakness is won by Seas of Gray. Seas the Gray. I don't know what that is.
Seas the Gray, yeah.
So,
what was it by? And he was ahead most of the race, was he not?
Yes.
And it came back close. You know what? I feel like that the one horse that probably would have won this race was that Japanese horse that they did not race. He's going to race again, I guess, over at Sarasota for the Belmont. But he was the one that I thought Forever Young. Had he raced in this race, he probably would have won it going away, just the way the field was. But I suspect that he's going to wind up the one that wins the Belmont. I thought he was going to race in this race, and I doubted him right after the Kentucky Derby that he got edged out but the way that things went for him in that race, and that I suspect that he's going to run a much better race over at Sarasota.
I mean, it was all mud track. It was very smart to get out there in front right away, so they didn't have to try to, catch the other horse in the lead there. So that was very smart by the jock to get out there fast. That mud was just flying. So very messy track. The Oilers beat the Canucks 5-1 to force a game 7. Bags. I mean, what do you think there? Can the Canucks take game 7 and get in the? Who's really better? Is the Oilers? If you look at these teams, really. I mean, I know the Canucks routed them. Who's the best team?
Out of the two of those teams, I think the Canucks are a better team. I think that you have Connor McDavid, who's really the guy who's pushing and willing the Edmonton Oilers to win. It's going to be a tough game. And listen, that's what makes hockey one of the best, games to watch. Like Game 7, hockey, all on the line, going to overtime. There's nothing better. Like next point wins type stuff. Win, at point, score a goal or go home. Like there's nothing more exciting than that. So I think the Canucks are going to do it. I like their coach, obviously Rick Tocchet.
Let me ask you this, Pax. The Florida Panthers are playing the New York Rangers. And it's a shame in a way that's not the finals. Whoever survives that series, and I look for long series there, I hate to use the word let down because you don't really let down when you're in the Stanley Cup final, but in a sense, does that work against them, maybe the two best teams in the semis?
No, I still believe that that Dallas going to the Stanley Cup. Dallas, had a good team. They got past Vegas, and I said that whoever won that series was going to wind up going to the Cup. I thought Vegas was going to re-win the Cup. The fact that Dallas was able to knock them off, I think that, and really kind of make, a little bit of light work out of Colorado. I mean, it's like when the goalie was playing good, then Colorado needed to outscore teams. But I think Dallas has actually got a really good team. That's going to be a really good series. This Rangers team is really good, and you got a Florida team that's being taken on the back of their goalie. So it's really going to be a very interesting series there. I hate the Rangers, but I love good hockey.
Well, let me ask you this, Pax, because we know you don't like New York teams. We know you don't like. What would bother you more winning a championship? The Rangers winning the Cup or the Knicks winning the NBA championship? What would bother you more?
You know what? It's not that I don't like them. I actually, to be honest, there's a piece of me that is not necessarily rooting for the Knicks, but I would prefer to see the Knicks win it over Boston. So, and the way that the kids are hustling, obviously it's a Game 7. The fact that they brought it to Game 7 and they did not put Indiana away is a big deal to me. I think that's
Philly connection. Villanova, the Philly connection.
But I like the hustle. Like that's really what it comes down to. Both of these teams right now are playing with a lot of jam, as you would. They're hustling a lot. And in hockey, hustle wins games. You're finding out that defense and hustle in basketball will win you games. The problem is that the fact that Indiana took 3 games from this series, I thought that this series should have been over in 5 or 6. The fact that it's gone 7 games makes Knicks fans very nervous. Are they nicking it up? Are they taking a page from the Mets and Metsing it up? That's what it sounds like to me.
Well,
listen, I think it's a lot to do with Josh Hart getting injured yesterday. And I think if they can overcome these injuries, Pags, and beat the Pacers, who are a good, legitimate playoff team, and they go play the Celtics, I think a lot of Knicks fans are going to think this season was a good thing with all the injuries and how they overcame them. And next year, just like the 76ers, they got to look and maybe get another shooter, another outside defender or something like that to improve. And I think the Knicks and 76ers are right back in it again next year. I think it's going to be. I think this rivalry, this three-way rivalry between the Celtics, Philadelphia, and the Knicks, is something that's going to be there for the next few years, man.
Well,
It reminds you of the days of old.
Yeah.
We only have a little while left. But quick prediction: there's another big game 7 today. The Timberwolves and Nuggets. James, you said you're picking the Nuggets, correct, in a close one. I'm picking the Timberwolves to upset the Nuggets in Denver tonight.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be mad at that.
I don't see it, but I think it's going to be a good game. The other thing that's going to help the Knicks out if they do win this game is that Boston's been sitting. I think that there's going to be a little bit of a rust factor, and that they need to steal game 1 from Boston in Boston and put Boston on their heels, whoever wins this series.
I agree with that too. Listen, I like Minnesota. I like the youth. I just don't know if the team around Edwards will respond tonight. I know Edwards will respond. Let's see if these other players can support him, because I know you're going up against the MVP of the season. I guarantee you he's going to be on tonight. There's no way that he has a bad game tonight. So
Minnesota's got to grow up tonight.
Yeah,
this is it. Whether they've grown up or not, we find out tonight.
Well, what a series, right? What a job they did this year. Great job.
Not if they let a 2-0 lead get away after winning the first 2 in Denver. That will leave a bad taste.
We shall see, folks. Have a great day. Stay tuned all day on the Roku channel. We'll see you tomorrow night with Glove Fist and start spreading the news. The 2 big shows tomorrow night live for you. Have a great one, and we'll see you soon, folks.